Okay, I'm going to do the financial vid since there's an interest in them. They'll be a good off-season filler, I guess. This is a lot of dry stuff to go into. It's not exactly rocket science how to save for retirement, how to get rich, and how to get ahead of things. Yet, for some reason, nobody wants to do the work. You know, they want this magic formula. They're like, oh, if you just do this. So, in this vid, I'm going to cover three things. I'm going to cover inflation, I'm going to cover the magic formula to get rich, and I'm going to cover what money is. First promise, the magic formula to get rich. Work smart. Notice I didn't say work hard. I said work smart. That's one of the first places we screw everybody up. We say, if you work hard, you too can. If you're working hard, you will never, ever, ever get there. Now, I'm not bashing on hard work. I've done a lot of hard work in my life. But hard work is, well, hard. And you're better off to work smart. See, part 2 of the secret formula. Don't save. Don't hoard. That sounds crazy. Like, how do you get rich if you don't save money? Well, that goes back to the working smart. People who want to work hard try and save enough of these things. Rather it's through buying silver, gold, you know, whatever. Or other things. They try and save them. This is also going to come into the other thing we're going to work on. So that's really the magic formula right there. Work smart and don't save. As crazy as that sounds, that is the magic formula to get rich. Instead, you combine the two together and you put whatever money you have to work for you in two ways. You're frugal in that you don't not spend money, but you never pay more for something than you have to. You get it as efficiently as you can. And you take whatever is left over and you do something with it that puts it to work for you. So that when you go around and need to dip into it, you've not only maintained your value, but you've actually exceeded it and have more money in terms of value to work with. This brings me down to the second thing I said we were going to cover, which is inflation. Everybody understands the idea that you need one of these today, you're going to need 2 of them tomorrow, and 3 of them the next day, and so on and so forth. But even understanding this concept, people don't get inflation. I'm going to fall back to the thing I bashed on in the last financial vid, which is silver, and I'm going to use an example. This is an actual true example of what silver did. In 1985, you basically waited for the bubble to largely finish popping. There was a similar price bubble like we've had very recently in the late 70s, early 80s. So let's say, you know, towards the end of that thing, you know, you just let it completely collapse, or at least what you thought was completely collapse. And in 1985, you bought silver for $5.89. In 2006, good news. You know, you could sell it for $9. You made money, at least that's what the tax man says. You know, it's like you owe tax on the $3 plus profit. You obviously made money, everything's good, and see that was a wonderful purchase, and ignore all those naysayers who pointed out all those times you were losing money. Well, yes, why 1 of these today, 2 of them tomorrow, 3 of them the next day. You have to do that math. I know math is hard, but it comes down to computing the value. When you take inflation into account, $5.89 in 1985 is the equivalent to $11.04 in 2006. So the end result of that transaction is you effectively sold something that cost you $11.04 to buy for $9. You would never do that any other time of the day, but people do it all the time when it comes to their investments and their long-term investments and purchases and saving for retirement, because they forget to take inflation into account fully. They assume more money is more value. That isn't necessarily true. Is it more money than the increase, or more importantly, decrease in value over time due to inflation and spending power? So that's the second concept we're going to, be going into in depth in these videos as we do them. Third one. Ooh. I don't remember what the third one is now. I said we were going to cover inflation. I covered that. I said we were going to cover how to get rich. Okay, I'm going to cover the third one, but I'm going to have to go watch what I said. So I'm going to cut the video out and come back, y'all. Be right back. Now, remember I said I was going to talk about what money is. Well, in the United States, money is worthless pieces of paper. You can't eat this. And the reality is, in the grand scheme of things, this isn't worth a lot more than the pieces of paper in a Monopoly game. So this is worthless. This really is. But it has backing. It's like people want to argue, well, since this hasn't been backed by gold and silver for years, it's worthless. Well, all money's worthless. What will you give me for it? Will you give me a cup of coffee? Okay, the cup of coffee has value. I can drink it. Will you give me a gallon of water? How about a liter of water? Quart? Okay. A pint? Oh, all right. Again, the pint of water has value. I can drink the pint of water. Yeah. But this is worthless. I can trade it for things of value. But this is worthless. This is worth whatever you're willing to give me for it. Not what I say it's worth. I don't get to come to you and say, give me a liter of water. You get to tell me, I'll give you a pint. Like, all right. That's the concept you need to understand with money. The fact that this isn't backed by gold and silver is irrelevant. It's backed by economic activity. This is pegged against dozens of markets in the world. It's paired against crude oil. It's paired against gold. It's paired against silver. It's paired against the euro, the Aussie, the yen, the Canadian dollar. I could go on naming things. The Greater British Pound. There's a bunch of dollar pairs. So it's backed by the United States government and the Federal Reserve. And yes, regardless of how you feel about the fact that the United States has a central bank these days, this is backed by both the United States government and the Federal Reserve. The Secret Service's only other responsibility besides protecting the president is dealing with this shit. So, yeah. As long as there's economic activity, this will always have some value. The only way this thing goes to zero is if there's no economic activity at all. Now, it will progressively lose value over time, but here's the other thing. People say it loses value over time because we print money. There's actually nothing wrong with the fact that we print money. That sounds crazy, right? Because that's why we're having all this crazy inflation right now, and the price of things changing because we're printing money like crazy, right? Okay. I named a bunch of things this is pegged against. that, you know, as they change and supply and demand of them fluctuates, the price of this thing ultimately fluctuates accordingly. That's a foreign concept, considering this is the money, the thing by which we dictate the prices of those things, but they control this more than it controls them. Now, the flip thing in the printing of it is that if the total supply and demand increase in value in any given year is 5%, and we increase the money supply by 10%, even though the value went up, the value of this particular commodity goes down, because while there's more value, we're also spreading it over a larger pie, therefore each piece of the pie is smaller. That's the effect of overprinting of money. There's nothing wrong with the fact that we print money. If we dictated the amount of money we printed pegged against economic activity in a way that wasn't trying to control interest rates and control the economy and bend things and do quantitative easing, and you know, it's like in the Great Depression we took all the money out of the economy. That was the solution. And then what are we calling this? The Great Recession. We flooded all the money into the economy because that was the solution. And then we manipulated the interest rates, and then we did this, and then we did all the other shit. And it just end of the day, the value is still what's dictating things. So you can play around with this shit all you want. It still fundamentally comes back to actual value. So again, this shit is worthless. It's simply a peg hole. And that's a concept you really need to understand if you want to do good financially. There are multi-billionaires who inherited or just basically had people around them who understood the concept, but they don't understand this. I would be exceedingly surprised if the 10, 20, or 30 richest people in the world don't all understand this concept. You know, it's like why they'll get a little uppity about you taking their money. They care more about you taking their value, because they understand what value actually is. I will go into these concepts in more depth in future videos, and what you can do about this, because the reality is you aren't as powerless as some people want to make you out to be. But I have prattled on for more than 10 minutes between the two videos I'm cutting together here, and the YouTube attention span is about that big. So the rest is more to come. Peace out all.